Welcome to the Security Guard Show with Shep and Pitt, where we share stories about our experiences in the security industry and provide tips that might help you in your career as a security professional. This show is sponsored by Enterprise Security Consulting and Training Incorporated. And now, let's start the show. Hello and welcome to the Security Guard Show. I'm Shep and you are Pitt. And today we're going to talk about when the work becomes physical. And we are from Enterprise Security Consulting and Training Incorporated, and we do security.
I don't know how that looks. It's supposed to be like them commercials.
Well, I think you got to hold it up a little bit because they can't really see it. There you go. All right. So tonight we're going to discuss physical interventions, so to speak. And I'm just going to switch my camera for just a moment and just... So, Pitt, being in this business for as long as we have, I'm sure you have had opportunities. I don't even know if it's opportunities. I don't know if opportunities is the word, but I'm sure there's been occasions when you've had to be physical.
Situations.
Situations. So, what type of situations? Give me a description of a physical situation you had.
I was patting down an individual coming into the club, and I felt he had a gun on him, and it was hidden where obviously it wasn't legal. And I told him to hold on, and then he started struggling with me, so I had to take him down, and he had a gun on him.
Now, when you took him down, what kind of technique did you use, or did you just use whatever came to mind?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, because he was taller than me, so he basically tried to get away. So it was a little bit of a struggle. And then once I could get into a position where I could actually use, something that I knew, it was basically pull the one leg, sweep the other leg, and get him down on the ground, and then get him where he was immobile top wise. And then,
so like, where'd you learn those techniques?
Just this sounds funny, but partially TV.
When joining the show, could you please turn off your phones and social media and all that stuff? Yeah, we're talking to Pitt. so Pitt's got to silence his phone. But anyway,
while I did.
Right. So, you were just about explaining where you learned those techniques.
So I mean, some of it is reading, some of it was training, with other individuals, and some of it was watching.
Right. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation tonight is because there's a lot of people who are working in security, and a lot of them don't know defensive tactics. They weren't trained in defensive tactics, and so they utilize, what comes natural. Grab them by the neck, hit them hard as you can, and hit them again, and so one of the things is, when I'm teaching, I'm talking about the legal ramifications of whooping somebody's behind. And that's basically, what I did when I first started, when I got a little size, because before I was very good at talking. I was like 165 pounds, so I wasn't doing too much of anything. But anyway, I literally, we beat some people up. And I think the statute of limitations is gone on that. So don't come back talking about, yes, the dude who beat me up, right? But what kind? You've read you.
First off, you shouldn't physically engage with somebody unless you are fairly certain that you can subdue this. You can subdue that individual with the least amount of force. The more force you use, the longer it goes on, the more chance you have of you hurting yourself, you hurting that person,
Right.
and suffering legal ramifications from the whole situation to begin with.
Right.
So at least have some tools in your pocket before you make that decision, unless it's one of those things where you absolutely positively had to do it.
And I think that's one of the things we need to really stress is physical intervention should be the very last resort, at least in my opinion. And quite frankly, I don't believe in touching nobody unless they get ready to go to jail. That's just me, because I just know the laws on these things are it's quite specific. And then everybody wants to sue somebody, right? If we all remember, those of us, in our age group would remember 546-7777. Remember that?
Yep.
That was Shapiro and Shapiro, Jim the Hammer Shapiro, right? And so, what's the quickest way to get rich in America is to sue somebody. And so, one of the things that we want to impress upon people tonight who are working in this industry is that you have to be very careful, because even though you may have the right to use physical force, it might not be prudent. And like you said, you need to make sure you can win, right? And if not y'all can win, I think that's important.
Especially in the bouncing world, one of the quickest interviews is, I can beat somebody up.
Right.
Well, thanks. I'm all set here.
Right.
It's really 85% talking to people and knowing how to talk to people.
Yep.
And knowing when talking is over.
Yep.
And how to lead somebody in the direction that, eventually there's not going to be any talking.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to remember, a lot of times, especially in the bar business, people are under the influence.
Mm-hmm.
So you can never treat a drunk person like they're a sober person.
Right.
The input is completely different. The understanding is completely different. So you have to know how to talk to that individual. And you have to know how to be with that individual before they even become intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in an environment where people are watching you and you're laughing and kiki and joking and not doing your job, when that individual becomes intoxicated, you have even less authority with that individual, because to him, you're having just as much fun as he is. So why should you listen to you? So you have to remember all of that.
Yeah. So, I think with that in mind, not just the bar business, today we're dealing with, a lot of mental health issues, and so it doesn't matter what area of security you're working, whether it be the bar business, whether you're working in hospital security, whether you're just, you're the guy sitting at the
Right.
entrance to the Rite Aid. I don't like to use brand names. They're not paying us for the use of their, for mentioning their names. But anyway, some pharmacy, right? You might run into somebody who is mentally disabled or having some sort of a crisis at the moment, and you got to know what to do. And so one of the things, Pitt, is I keep saying one of the things, but it's like I've mentioned like 10 things. But you have to think about, what is your policy? What is your job's policy on the use of force? You also need to think about
I think you should know your job's policy.
Well, you should know. That's
know.
Exactly. You should know your job's policy on the use of force, and you should know the law. So here I go, one of these things again. So we always talk about security guards should know the law. There's 2 books I always recommend for security guards to have in their library. That is the New York State Penal Law and the New York State Criminal Procedure Law. Did we hold that up last week? I think we did. Yeah, you did. So it's important to make sure that you understand the law and then understand your job responsibilities. Because even though, like I said, you may have the right to use force, And remember that force should be the least amount of force needed to control a situation. But if you don't know what your job expects from you, then you have to be especially careful. And if you don't know what your job expects for you, like Pitt said, you need to go find out what do we do in these types of situations if this becomes physical. Again, I don't think you should be putting your hands on anybody unless it's going to lead to an arrest. Because now that situation, in my opinion, has gotten somewhat out of control, and I got the sun shining in my ear from one side. But so there's a lot of folks who don't, like you said, you read, you've had some training here and there. What do you recommend for people to know how to do physical interventions and restraints?
What do I recommend? For me, it was a book called "How to End
Violence Quickly.
Violence or Confrontations Quickly."
Yep.
I
forget the guy's name who wrote that book.
And I saw the book, and it was like, it looked kind of funny, like not any book that I would take serious. Because I saw it, it was on, it was a thick hardcover.
I gave it to you, and I haven't seen it since.
Oh, that's where I got that. That was a long time ago. The book, it comes up with a lot of good points. When you engage with somebody physically, the unexpected outcome could be loss of life.
Yep.
So if you're going to engage with somebody, you have to understand that unintentionally or intentionally, you could kill somebody. They could fall, hit their head, anything could happen, or it could happen to you. So that's why it's prudent to again, know your company's policy, and then make sure that you have the necessary tools for that situation. I actually have an example of exactly. I was working loss prevention for somewhere. So when you say loss prevention, you assume that if somebody's stealing something, you're supposed to
go stop them.
Stop them. So I had a guy who had a $250 coat, and put his coat on over it, and tried to make his way to the door. And I tackled him going out. And I almost got fired because the policy wasn't to stop people from stealing. It was to follow them out and take their license plate number and all the rest of that, which that didn't make any sense to me at all, because you're losing property and merchandise.
But they had their policy.
Right, they had their policy. So I actually almost got fired, and they actually never told me per se exactly what the policy is. It's just they opened, and on opening day there was a bunch of stuff taken, so I hit the ground running. Right. I was supposed to just be at the door checking receipts, and it was like, no, we just lost like $8,000 worth of stuff, so you're gonna go in and look for people shoplifting.
Right. So I had a thought, and I can't remember what the thought was just that quickly.
Oh, that happens to me a lot.
I'm getting old, Oh, so while I'm thinking about this, make sure you like and subscribe to us on social media. On Facebook and Twitter, we are at esctroc.com. And on Instagram, we're Enterprise Security. Also on YouTube, we're at esctroc.com. Not .com. But anyway, like and subscribe to us on social media. And
if you have a security question, send us a shout.
Yep,
we'll be happy to answer it.
Definitely.
And I'd like to send a shout out to Lakeisha Shepard, our other owner, and Sean McLean, who is my co-worker. We're not as high as they are, but we're a family. So they're not here. Eventually you'll see them, but I'm giving them a shout out because we actually forgot to even mention them last week.
Thank you.
Bad us.
So, honey, he did it before I could, but anyway, love you. Sean, you got to come and make sure you're on with us doing this show. So before I go any further, we want to make sure folks understand that we are in the business of providing security guards as well as training security guards. So for any of your security guard training needs, make sure you reach out to us, Enterprise Security Consulting and Training. That's www.esctroc.com. You can give us a call at 585-484-7745. So,
as well as first aid certification.
And first aid certifications, yes, we do that. And as we do a lot. So just go to our website. You'll find out all these things that
we got
do.
Tools for your toolbox.
Exactly. And I could go on and on and on. But, back to, restraints. Again, I lost my thought. But anyway, so we talked about making sure you are doing what's expected of you on your job. Let me see. I don't know if we have any comments. Let me see if I can put up anything. Nope, there are no comments at this moment, but we'll just go ahead and put.
Which means everybody gets it.
Yeah. So feel free to leave comments. We can see your comments. You have to make sure that you know what your job is expecting of you. Oh, I know where I was gonna go. We talked about that book, Surviving Encounters. So one of the things that he teaches in that book is you have to end violence quickly. And because, like you said it earlier, the longer an intervention goes on, the more likely someone is to get hurt. And how long can you actually hold somebody before you get tired? So let's talk about physical restraints or mechanical restraints. I'm sorry. You use handcuffs?
I've used them before, yes.
Okay. And have you been trained?
Yes, I was trained.
Okay.
Dr. Kamei
McNeil.
Yeah. Aggressive handcuffing class.
Goshin Jitsu, I think that's the name of it. And we got to get Dr. Kamei on here. Him and his son Jermaine. Oh, they're all bad people.
They are bad.
Mercedes,
they
Jermaine.
Don't look like bad people, but they are definitely bad people.
I'm thankful that they're very nice people.
Oh, they're salt of the earth.
But I'll tell you, you don't want to run up on them, because you grab one of them, you wish they would let you go.
Jermaine's got that smile that is extremely deceiving. Extremely deceiving.
Yeah. So having. What I was trying to get at is making sure that you're trained to use, certain techniques. Now, just so you know, the use of batons, any item used to strike somebody is not legal in New York State. So
unless you're law enforcement.
So, if you went to the uniform store and you bought you one of those asps, go see if you can get your money back. And if you can't, just throw it in your toolbox, because you won't be using it. You shouldn't be using
Mount
it.
Just put it on the wall.
Yeah, put it on the wall and say, this is what I used to use, but I no longer use it because I have been educated. Make sure that you're trained in the use of physical interventions. I know I tell this story, and I don't know if I told it last week, but there are times when physical interventions aren't necessarily prudent. And so I had this occasion. This was back in my Hollywood Palms Superior Lounge days. A guy who is now my friend. We're good friends. Matter of fact, he just reached out to me a couple of weeks ago. And I'll just use his nickname. His nickname is Bebe. That should tell you something right there. Anybody named Bebe, them some bad jokers, right? So
gotta have a pass.
Yeah, gotta have a pass. So I'm like, Bebe comes in the club one night, and he's with one of his family members, and that family member and his significant other get into some sort of altercation, and so Bebe was like in the bathroom or someplace else, and so by the time he comes out, we have already put his cousin and his significant other out of the club. So Bebe comes out. I guess he heard that there was a fight or whatever the case may be, and now he's concerned about his family. Yo, where's my family at? Where's my family at? And my response, because I was the big bad bouncer back then, and my response was, they outside and you can join them. And so he was like, I ain't going nowhere. I want to know my family. I want to know what happened. Blase, blase. And he sat down at one of the tables. And he grabs the table like, he's holding onto the table like this with both arms. And so, me and my partner, Larry Williams, he's gone on now. Larry's hopefully in heaven. And so he grabs the table and he's determined that we're not going to put him out the club, right? So I grab this dude's arm. I grab his forearm. And I mean, this dude had ripples. I mean, it seemed like all the way around his arm, And I'm like, oh, snap. This dude huge. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't care how big you is, you getting ready to go, right? So I guess Larry felt what I felt on the other side. So he called me over. He's like, yo, come here. And I'm like, what, man? We finna get this dude. He said, listen, man. He said, now, if you want him out, we can get him out. But we gonna end up tearing up this whole club trying to do it. He said, let's look for another option. And I was like, okay. And at that point, now I don't think I've ever admitted this before, but at that point I was very relieved because it wasn't necessarily my call, it was Larry's call, right? So I'm feeling like, well, I don't, we're not gonna have to fight this dude because Larry said, let's look for another way. So what we ended up doing, long story short, we ended up buying him a drink and just telling him he could stay. We wasn't throwing him out. His people was outside, but they couldn't come back in because of the altercation they had. And at the end of the night, because Larry and I, our plan was, okay, we're going to let him stay the rest of the night. He's not being disruptive. He ain't, doing nothing. He ain't fighting. But we'll let him stay. But once he go out the door, we're not going to let him back in, right? And the rest of the night went just fine, right? A few hours. And as the brother walked out the door, he was like, yo, I just want to thank you fellas, because y'all could have put a brother out. We could have been fighting up in here, but y'all chose to, give me a chance, give me an opportunity, and I really appreciate that. And Bebe and I have been very good friends ever since. So, I mean, the moral of the story is there's always another way. You just have to, you got to look for it. You got to look for those opportunities. What you think?
Well, I didn't have that mindset back in the day. I would have, if you got both hands on the table, then I just would have choked you out. I got your neck right there.
But we can't choke anybody anymore.
We can't now. I know. I can't now. I'm just saying back then.
No better do better.
Table, your neck's exposed.
Right.
But that's illegal. Actually, it's illegal now.
It is illegal.
To obstruct an airway in New York State. So anybody that's bouncing or working at a club know if you put your hand around somebody's neck or you choke them, that's felony.
Yep. So, real quick, I want to, I think I'm doing this right. I need to switch over to, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break and you're going to hear an ad about some of our training. And we'll be right back.
At Enterprise Security Consulting and Training, we are doing our part to help you stay safe during this global pandemic caused by the coronavirus. We are now offering virtual security guard training, which will allow you to take our classes from the comfort of your own home. For more information about any of our security guard training classes, go to our website at www.esctroc.com or call us at 585-484-7745. Enterprise Security Consulting and Training.
All right, we are back. Welcome to the Security Guard Show. We are sponsored by Enterprise Security Consulting and Training. I'm the president, and Pitt is the operations manager. And Sean is our special events supervisor, and Lakeisha is our other co-owner. And so we're talking about restraints and should you do it or shouldn't you do it? And I think the title of this particular live is when it becomes when the job becomes physical, when the work becomes physical. And so a lot of people at that title you would first think walking and that part, because that part that's the physical part of security. But specifically I want to talk about physical interventions because there are a lot of people out here who don't understand the ramifications that come about with physical interventions. And part of what we do is we try to educate folks on the security industry, and this is one of those ways of doing it. Before we get ready to transition out, because we're almost at our 30 minutes, I want to let you know next week I plan to talk about who to hire and who not to hire as security, and then we're going to talk a little bit about security guard pay. I think that's a worthy topic.
Hot topic.
Yeah. So, Pitt, you've been in this business as long as me. What should we leave folks with tonight when it comes to becoming physical with folks?
Well, doing security is not a hard job, and it's easy till it's not.
Right.
But you have to know when it's not. You have to know what you can and can't do, and you have to be able to do if you need to do. That sounded retarded, but you have to be.
That word. Can't use the R word.
Sorry, it sounded. And you have to be. You guys got to forgive me. I'm a little brash, but you have to make sure you have the tools necessary if you're going to deal with somebody physically. But know how to, if you can, and the ramifications if you do.
I would definitely agree with that. Make sure you know what you're doing. If you haven't been trained, seek out a training provider. Enterprise Security Consulting and Training is one of those providers. And I would almost say we're one of the best, if not the best. But anyway, seek out a provider, someone who is well versed in defensive tactics and could tell you, how to end violent confrontations.
Defensive tactics, but practical application.
Thank you. That's the word. That's exactly what I was looking for. And with that, we are going to get ready to say goodbye. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And there's more stuff coming. We hope to have some guests. I talked to a couple of people on last week who actually enjoyed the show. And so hopefully we'll be able to add some guests either live in person or virtually. And hey, I can't wait to continue to see, these conversations and see what comes out.
Do you think we need a sign-off phrase? You guys send us some ideas for a sign-off phrase.
Yeah, send us some ideas. We're open. We're open to suggestions. Yeah. And if you like the show, make sure you let us know. And so till the next time we share time, take a light flight and chill, because we will. Take care.